Joining me now, she's one of the greatest. I'm really excited that she's here on a day like today, especially to get her take. Elizabeth Pipko, former GOP national spokesperson. Follow her on all social media accounts at Elizabeth Pipko. Hey, my friend, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. You know, this is a very, very upsetting situation that happened in Washington D.C. This guy is a nutbag, and it's a terrible thing that happened, and it also could have been absolutely avoided.
1,000%. The fact is, we have been begging people to pay attention to our warnings for 19 months now, right? I have told people that when they chant, from the river to the sea, it means something dangerous. When they chant Intifada revolution or globalize the Intifada, many don't even know what they're saying, but that is a threat, not just to Jewish people, but to all people worldwide. This is what that looks like. These college students that go around burning American flags, chanting about the Intifada, this is what they are chanting for. The innocent people that have nothing to do with the decisions of the Israeli military, obviously thousands of miles away, dead, murdered in cold blood on the street, innocent in their 20s, having nothing to do with anything that they seem to claim to be protesting for. It is so disgusting. It's so sad. It's heartbreaking as a Jew, but also just as an American, that this can happen in Washington, D.C. in broad daylight in cold blood.
Yeah, and it's we heard so many people say, oh, it's just speech, but it was more than that. These are people who were using speech to encourage people to commit violence.
Of course. I mean, it's one thing when it's a college student, right? And I have enough of a problem with that. It's another thing when it's their professors, when it's celebrities or politicians, when it's grown adults that know exactly what they're doing, many of whom, by the way, have not even condemned what's going on right now, not even condemned what happened last night. It's a mix of not knowing what to be more angry about. Those that did condemn what happened yesterday, despite the fact that their own language contributed to it, or those that say nothing and think that it's okay to murder innocent people because they work for the Israeli embassy. So I'm angry today. I'm heartbroken. I'm confused about where we go from here. But the fact is, people have been literally encouraging violence, not just against Jews, but against anybody that stands with Israel since the war started for 19 months at this point, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Let me play another clip for you. This is the Metropolitan Police Department Chief of Police Pamela Smith. Prior to the shooting, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside the museum. Cut 22.
Prior to the shooting, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents. After the shooting, the suspect then entered the museum and was detained by event security. Once in handcuffs, the suspect identified where he discarded the weapon, and that weapon has been recovered, and he implied that he committed the offense. The suspect chanted, "Free, free Palestine," while in custody.
All right, we now know that 2 Israeli embassy staffers were killed. That has been confirmed. And according to FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, apparently now they are aware of certain writings that the suspect allegedly wrote. He said the following on X. He said, I have a few updates on last night's shooting that I want to share with you in the interest of transparency, out of respect for the investigation and the charges being aggressively pursued. We are limited in what we can immediately say. The FBI Deputy Director continues, but he said, the FBI is aware of certain writings authored by the suspect, and we hope to have updates as to the authenticity very soon. And he also said the FBI believes there is no ongoing threat to the public at this time. At the same time, I want the public to be assured we are following up on any additional leads to ensure we do our complete and total due diligence on this. So, hopefully, I'm confident they will release the writings here, Elizabeth Pipko, because, unlike the Nashville Shooters Manifesto, who they tried to cover up and hide, this administration will actually be transparent with the American people, and we deserve to know everything about this guy.
We do. I mean, I already know everything I need to know based on him chanting "Free Palestine" and having a keffiyeh in his pocket and apparently doing this very calmly, right? He literally murdered 2 people and then sat there and asked for a glass of water, I'm told, owned up to everything that he did and waited for the police to arrive. That is the most disturbing thing that I can ever imagine. I can only assume those that were in the room or who witnessed this are horrified and scarred for life. I mean, I look forward, obviously, to any intel, any answers that we might get. But the fact is, we already have our answers because we've warned people about this, because this is not new, right? It's not new for the Jewish people. nor is it new for the United States of America. We know what happens when you encourage this kind of violence and when you say nothing, because it somehow becomes mainstream to allow those that want to attack Israel to do so, even if it ends up being blatantly anti-Semitic. The fact is, this war has taken over people's minds. It's taken over our mainstream. We've gone from a nation that always stood with the state of Israel against, of course, the same terrorist threats that we share with them. Those enemies that Israel fights, those are our very enemies as well. We've gone from a nation that always knew that to a nation that actually glorifies anti-Semitism, because in one way or another, we might be able to explain how it actually just stands for the people of Gaza. It makes absolutely no sense. It's disgraceful. And that individual last night, by murdering 2 innocent people, I don't think he did anything to help the Palestinian people. I think we all know that. And it's so sad that I am confident that after a day or two of this being in the news, we're going to go right back to what everyone was doing before the shooting and screaming from the rooftops for the globalization of the Intifada.
It may not even take that long, my friend. Elizabeth Pipko is with me, former Republican national spokesperson, and please follow her on X at Elizabeth Pipko. I want to ask about the president's Mideast trip in a moment, but I want to play another clip for you. There's also another update. The 2 people who were murdered here in cold blood, identified as a couple who were set to be engaged.
Yeah.
Just very, very incredibly sad. This is from Fox and Friends. This is a witness who was inside the Capitol Jewish Museum when the gunshots rang out. This is to your point, Elizabeth, how calm this guy was. Cut 24.
He wasn't calm. He looked very scared, but I thought it was because he had just witnessed a murder. I didn't think for a second he was actually the murderer. I feel very lucky to be alive. And I feel extremely sad for the victims, their families. It could have been me.
And I want to play you this. This is, Democrats are, in my opinion, with the exception of John Fetterman, really, who they're now attacking because of John Fetterman's support for Israel, to not even be able to condemn this is outrageous. And here's Representative Ilhan Omar, member of the squad and the brother lover, cut 26.
Congresswoman Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
I'm going to go for now. She won't stop to condemn that violence, Elizabeth Pipko. It's disgraceful.
Well, how can you stop to condemn it when they murdered, or this man murdered 2 people who worked for the Israeli embassy? For all we know, it's her language that encouraged him, and for all we know, she's supportive. It is the strangest thing I've honestly ever seen in my life growing up in this country. As a young girl, to tell me this is what I would be seeing in the year 2025, that we would have elected officials that can't condemn, first of all, just the murder of anyone who's innocent. It doesn't matter where they were working or what ongoing war happens to be in the news that day. But the fact is, this is an elected official who's been in Congress for quite some time now, who we've all warned about, who cannot take 2 seconds to say that she condemns this murder. It is so strange. It's so evil. Honestly, and it's also confusing to me because there's a lot of people that say a lot of things they don't believe in because they believe it's the right thing to do. So she doesn't even think it's the right thing to do to sit there and pretend that she mourns these 2 people murdered in cold blood. It's just a scary time. I honestly can't even tell you what else I can say. It's not as a Jew, it's just as an American. None of this should be happening in our country, and none of it should be acceptable to the American people.
On a positive note, I thought the president's trip to the Middle East last week was an absolute success and a home run. And I thought it was very positive for the future of Israeli security in the sense that we could have the Abraham Accords and Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. They could be allies with Israel and help isolate Iran. I thought the president, it was just on the world stage. I mean, he owned it on the world stage. And I think it was a true success. What do you think?
I agree. And what a contrast, right, from the last 4 years of Joe Biden to this. I mean, not only someone who seems to know what he wants to do when it comes to the Middle East, someone who actually did not have a war start under his presidency, someone who obviously knows that the entire world will be stronger and more peaceful if we lead with strength as the United States of America, but also just someone who shows up, right? I mean, we had a man that was basically asleep at the wheel. That's me being nice. And so all of our enemies, all of these nations across the world, all of them decided it was a good idea to do whatever they wanted, right? Whether it was messing with Israel or doing whatever they wanted to the United States of America. The fact is, Hamas is the reason that we have this mess going on, but Hamas would not exist if not for Iran, right? Hamas is just one of Iran's proxies, and Hamas would not have invaded Israel on October 7th if we had Donald Trump in the White House because they would have known they'd have to deal with a response from the president of the United States, who actually does not stand by and allow these kind of actions to take place. This is a man who wants to put Iran in its place. He knows what he has to do. He believes we should avoid war at all costs, obviously, because who wants American men and women to be shipped overseas to risk their lives? We should try whatever we can to avoid that first. But it's a man who also knows we cannot allow billions of dollars to be sent to Iran in horrible deals that only hurt not just Israelis, but also Americans and any peace-loving people around the world. So it was beautiful to see. It was such a contrast from what we saw before him, and the amount of people that had questions or complaints, about what was going on. Meanwhile, this is the America that we all voted for and the America that we should all be supporting. Not only did Don Alexander get released, by the way, before the trip, but Donald Trump led the trip with grace and with dignity and with strength for the first time in such a long time that I've seen America be represented in that way in the Middle East. And it was a beautiful sight to see.
Yeah, well said. Boom. Absolutely. Listen, next time you're in Philly, you better come in studio and hang out with me, okay?
I promise. Yes.
All right, good.
Wait.
Elizabeth Pipko. Follow her on X at Elizabeth Pipko. Thanks, my friend.